Welcome to the Haunted Beard, everybody. My name is Jake. Thank you for joining me. Well, I realize I am totally late to the party on this show, but I am so glad I finally decided to show up. Severance is a show that I have just recently, in the last couple weeks, have been binge watching to catch up, and it is very quickly becoming one of my all-time favorites. In today's video, I want to talk about what we learned in episode 7 of season 2 titled Chikai Bardo. This episode picks up right where episode 6 leaves off. Mark is now unconscious after having suffered a pretty severe reaction to the reintegration procedure done by Ragabi. His sister Devon is now in the house and she is tending to him. The episode opens with a flashback of Mark and Gemma first meeting. They are both teachers at the college or university they work at, and they are at a blood drive. I really love how this scene is set up because they immediately have this connection in chemistry. We don't actually realize until a couple moments into their conversation that this is the first time they've met. They seem to already have some sort of relationship or friendship, but then we find out this is the very first time they met each other. I think it's a great scene that really establishes their relationship dynamic. In addition to establishing Mark and Gemma's relationship, this scene also establishes much of what we are going to get in this episode, as this is largely a Mark and Gemma origin story. So much of this takes place, what we learn later, inside Mark's subconscious as he is unconscious on the couch. And we are privy to many moments of their relationship, which eventually develops into their marriage. We also get to see moments of them trying for a baby. We discover that Gemma gets pregnant, but then unfortunately has a miscarriage. And so we as the audience are carried along on this roller coaster ride of the ups and downs of their relationship. I really like how the episode presented these flashbacks. Very raw, very intimate, very personal. It feels a bit like a vintage home movie. There's a very warm, personal, and lovely feel to a lot of these sequences. But on the flip side, the episode is also very somber and emotional. It's a beautifully constructed and edited episode overall. It handles all the emotional moments with great care. It's very well written. The performances are, of course, great. And all the emotions really come through and make quite an impact. Now, in addition to getting some more background with Mark and Gemma's relationship, we also get to see Gemma's experience at Lumen. And this is the first time we as an audience get to see the testing floor. She is held at Lumen permanently. Her Audi lives on the testing floor. And throughout the day, she visits multiple rooms. Every time she enters a different room, her innie takes over. So what we learn here is seemingly Gemma's mind is subdivided into multiple innies. Every time she enters into a different room on the testing floor, a new innie takes over. And she is subjected to different sorts of traumatic or troubling experiences. One of them being at the dentist's office, enduring an endless dental procedure. Another one, she is on an airplane experiencing severe turbulence. And the third room that we see, she's in a house and is writing thank you Christmas cards over and over and over again. The common denominator, no matter what room she arrives in, we see Dr. Maurer, who is the dentist that we catch a brief glimpse of back in episode 5. Although we never see his face until this episode, and so his true and full identity is revealed. Dr. Maurer also appears when Mark and Gemma visit the fertility clinic in a blink and you'll miss it scene. His appearance here leading us to question whether or not Lumen was involved in Gemma's accident. Is this something Lumen planned? Have they been monitoring Gemma since before she even got to Lumen? It seems like that might be the case. Another important thing we learn in this episode is that there is an additional room that is directly connected to the MDR room. It looks very similar. There are almost kind of equivalent counterparts to the 4 people at MDR that are in this other room, and they are watching and monitoring the employees in MDR. Not only that, they are watching and monitoring Gemma on the testing floor. What makes this significant is Mr. Drummond is there, one of the top executives at Lumen, and he asks someone if the severed procedure is holding.
Are the severance barriers holding?
And so, what I gather from that, and what I believe we learn from that, is the following. Gemma seems to be a test subject for the severance procedure. They are testing out the severance bonds, or how well the severance procedure is able to hold up, by admitting Gemma to multiple types of traumatic or stressful experiences to see if the severance procedure still holds up in those experiences. Another interesting thing to note here is that one of the rooms on the testing floor is called Cold Harbor, which is the file that Mark S. is currently working on. However, this is the only room on the testing floor that Gemma has yet to enter. So what exactly Cold Harbor is and how it factors into all of this still remains a mystery. Now, based on all of this, it seems that Lumen is experimenting in order to expand the severed procedure into the real world. It seems that they are testing it for real-world application, giving people the possibility of selective memories, for people to be able to delete traumatic or stressful memories from their mind. And we do know, because of the woman at the birthing cottage, this is something that Lumen has already begun implementing in the real world. Another significant moment happens when Mark whispers the title of the episode while he is unconscious on the couch, which is Chikai Bardot. We then get a flashback to Mark and Gemma. Mark is holding a flashcard of a guy fighting himself, and this happens to be the same flashcard that Devin stole out of the optics and design room back in season 1. This term, Chikai Bardot, is a Buddhist term that means ego death. It is the liminal state of subconscious between life and death, which really explains the state of being Mark is currently at. And the man fighting himself on the flashcard, I think, is representative of Mark's innie and outie fighting itself in his mind. A few more things to note in this episode. One is the lie Dr. Maurer tells Gemma. Gemma misses Mark. She wants to go home, but Dr. Maurer tells her that Mark has moved on and he has already remarried. This, of course, devastates Gemma. She attacks Dr. Maurer, knocking him unconscious with a chair, and then tries to escape. She gets into the elevator, up to the severed floor, down the hallway, but then is unfortunately stopped and forced to turn around back into the elevator by Mr. Milchick. The other scene of note that really stood out to me was Devin confronting Ragabi. Devin has an idea and tries to call Mrs. Cobell, and Ragabi tells her that it is a terrible idea because she is a Lumen soldier, and Ragabi says that she is going to leave if Devin calls her. This was a bit of a strange scene to me. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it. I couldn't help but wonder why Devin would want to call Mrs. Cobell or Selvig to ask for her help. This is the same woman who lied to her and betrayed her and took advantage of her by caring for her child under false pretenses. I'm not really sure why Devin thought it would be a good idea to call her. Perhaps she was just very overwhelmed and stressed out given the situation of Mark's current state, and she wasn't thinking clearly. The final 2 sequences in the episode show us one more flashback where the police arrive to inform Mark of Gemma's accident. And then the final scene in the episode is Mark waking up on the couch, and a look of sadness comes over his face, indicating that all the flashbacks that occurred in this episode were relived memories that Mark was experiencing while he was unconscious on the couch. Overall, a great episode. This is the saddest and most emotional episode, but it really speaks to the strength of the writing as a whole. This is a show that relies largely on mystery and thrills. But in addition to that, this episode proves how well it can handle the emotions and the drama of it all as well, and it does so extremely effectively. While we do learn some things and are able to perhaps put a few pieces of the puzzle together, the more we learn, the more mysteries and the more questions I have, but that's one of the things that I think makes this show so great. It's extremely well written and extremely well thought out, and I cannot wait to see what episode 8 holds for us. As always, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Want to give a quick shout out to all my patrons. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for your continued support. I'm very, very grateful. If you got anything out of this video, go ahead and do me a favor and do not click that subscribe button unless you want to be haunted by the beard.